There's a certain kind of a smile that doesn't belong on a human face. If you have ever seen Doflamingo smile, you know the one. It's not happiness, it's not even madness, it's something colder. Like a man who has already seen the world end and decided he'll be the one to light the fire next time. But no one is born like that, not even him. He was born where humans don't belong, high above the world in Marigiois, a place reserved for those who call themselves gods, the celestial dragons, the kind of beings who don't just rule the world but believe they are the world. And Doflamingo was one of them, the eldest son of Homing, raised to believe that every person beneath him existed for his sake. He didn't learn kindness, he didn't learn humility, he learned that people kneel. And then, one day, they didn't. Because his father made a choice no one in that world would ever forgive. Homing chose to stop being a god. He chose to descend, to live as a human. It sounds noble, it sounds right, but the world of One Piece isn't kind enough to reward that kind of a decision. The moment they stepped down from Marigiois, they didn't become ordinary, they became targets. At first, Doflamingo didn't understand. Why were people staring? Why weren't they bowing? Why did they look at him like he was something to hate? He demanded respect like he always had. But respect doesn't survive outside heaven. Only resentment does. And resentment had been building for centuries. Their home was burned, their wealth stripped away, their status turned into a curse. They were dragged from comfort into filth so suddenly that even the air must have felt different. The boy who once looked down on the world now had to dig through garbage to survive in it. And still, somewhere deep inside, he believed it would be fixed. That the gods would take them back, that this was temporary, until the day his father called Marigiois and was rejected. Not just denied, but dismissed, as if they had never mattered at all. Doflamingo heard that conversation. He didn't scream, he didn't break down, he went quiet. That kind of silence is dangerous because it means something is changing. And then the world took the last thing it could from him, his mother. Not in some dramatic tragedy, not in a blaze of glory, but slowly, pathetically, from illness born out of poverty and neglect. A god's wife reduced to dying in a shack built from scraps. And if that wasn't enough, the mob came back. They found them again, dragged them out, beat them, hung them, tortured them, not because they needed to, but because they wanted to. Because this was justice in their eyes, revenge for generations of suffering. And in the middle of all that chaos, that pain, that cruelty, a child looked at the world and made a promise. Not to survive, not to escape, but to destroy. I will kill every single one of you. And the terrifying thing is, he didn't say it like a child. He said it like a future. That was the moment Doflamingo died, and something else took his place. When he met Rebel, Virgo, Pika, and Diamante, they didn't see a broken boy. They saw power. They saw the spark of something rare, the will to dominate, the kind that doesn't ask for the world but takes it. They gave him the Ito no Mi. Strings, such a simple power on the surface, but in the hands of someone like him, strings meant control. And control meant everything. At 10 years old, with a gun in his hand, Doflamingo made the decision that would define the rest of his life. His father begged, his brother Rosinante cried, but Doflamingo didn't hesitate. Because in his mind, this wasn't murder, this was justice. This was reclaiming what was stolen from him. He pulled the trigger, and just like that, the last piece of his old life disappeared. He carried his father's head back to Mary Joyce, expecting acceptance, expecting recognition, expecting that he had proven himself worthy to return to the heavens. But the gods looked at him and saw nothing. No redemption, no forgiveness, no place for him. Only rejection. Again, and something inside him twisted into something irreversible. If he couldn't return to heaven, then heaven itself would fall. From that moment on, Doflamingo didn't just want power, he wanted leverage over the world itself. And somehow, through secrets buried deep within Mary Joyce, he found it. A hidden truth. A national treasure so dangerous that even the celestial dragons couldn't silence him. So they didn't. They cooperated. That's the moment the flamingo became untouchable. Not a god, not a man, something in between, something worse. Years passed and he built more than a crew. He built a family, not out of love, but loyalty. Absolute, unquestioning loyalty. They burned towns for him, killed for him, lived for him, because to them, he wasn't just a leader, he was destiny. By 17, he stood in lockdown, watching the execution of Gol D Roger, the man who changed the world with his death. Everyone else watched in awe, fear, or anticipation. Doflamingo smiled because he understood something others didn't. The world wasn't ending. It was about to get much, much worse. When Trafalgar D. Waterloo entered his life, it felt almost poetic. A dying child filled with hatred for the world, looking for a reason to exist. Doflamingo saw himself in that boy. Not who he was, but who he had become. He offered him a place, a future, even hope. But Doflamingo's version of hope always came with a cost, because betrayal was already creeping closer. Rosinante, his own brother, wasn't broken. He was pretending, a marine spy risking everything to save law. And when the truth came out on Minion Island, surrounded by blood and lies, Doflamingo faced him. There was no hesitation. There never is with him. Even as Rosinante stood there, defiant, desperate, still trying to protect a child, Doflamingo pulled the trigger again and walked away. Not because he didn't care, but because caring had died a long time ago. What came after was power on a scale few could imagine. He became one of the 7 warlords of the sea, a pirate protected by the very system meant to destroy pirates, a king of contradictions, a broker of chaos. And then he found his kingdom. Dressrosa. He didn't conquer it with brute force, he rewrote it. He turned a king into a puppet, made him slaughter his own people, shattered trust, destroyed hope, and then, at the perfect moment, he stepped in as the hero, savior, king, and beneath that illusion, he built something far more terrifying than a dictatorship. He built a world where people could disappear and no one would remember they ever existed. With the help of sugar, he turned enemies into toys, erased them from history. Families forgot their loved ones, friends forgot each other, lives were rewritten like they meant nothing. Because, to Doflamingo, they didn't. During the summit war of Marineford, while legends clashed and the world held its breath, he laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it proved his point. Justice isn't real. It's just a word used by whoever's winning. And for a long time, he was winning. Until Monkey D. Luffy arrived. Not as a king, not as a rival, but as something Doflamingo had never truly faced before. Someone who didn't care about the game. As secrets unraveled and lies collapsed, Dressrosa began to wake up. Toys turned back into humans, memories returned, truth spread like wildfire, and for the first time in years, Doflamingo lost control of the one thing he valued most, the narrative. So he did what monsters do when they feel cornered. He decided if he couldn't control the world, he would destroy it. The birdcage fell from the sky, strings enclosing the entire island, shrinking, tightening, crushing everything slowly, inevitably. No escape, no mercy, a death sentence disguised as a game. And even then, he smiled, because if this was the end, then he would make sure it was his ending. The battle that followed wasn't just strength against strength, it was ideology against ideology, control against freedom. A man who believed the world was something to dominate against a boy who believed it was something to protect. Even as his organs were destroyed, Doflamingo stitched them back together with strings. Even as he bled, he laughed. Even as he was losing, he refused to accept it, because in his mind, he was still above everyone. But still chosen, still a god, until the moment he realized something that shook him more than any punch ever could. Luffy wasn't trying to rule anything. He wasn't trying to prove anything. He didn't care about status, power, or control. He just fought. And that was something Doflamingo could never understand. Because everything he had ever done, every life he had destroyed, every lie he built, every person he killed, was to climb back to a place Luffy never wanted to reach. And in that realization, he lost. Not just the battle, but the meaning behind it. When Luffy's final attack came crashing down, it didn't just shatter his body, it shattered his entire world. His glasses broke, his kingdom collapsed, his illusion of control vanished, and for the first time since he was a child, Doflamingo fell. Captured, chained, taken to impel down, the deepest prison in the world. And yet, he still smiled. Because even in defeat, he saw something no one else did. The world he had been holding together was about to fall apart, and as he sat in the darkness, laughing quietly to himself, he said something that doesn't sound terrifying at first until you really understand it. The monsters are coming. Because Doflamingo wasn't just a villain, he was a balance. A man who controlled the underworld, who fed wars, who managed chaos so that it didn't spiral out of control. And now he was gone. Which means that only thing left in the world is chaos without control. And the most chilling part, he is not afraid of it. He is waiting for it, smiling in the dark, because in the end, the boy who fell from heaven didn't just try to climb back. He made sure that when the world finally breaks, it breaks exactly the way he predicted.